we will call our town board meeting for October 24th to order at 7:08 p.m. With roll call.
Mayor Christy Melendez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Miles Baker,
Here.
Christian Morgan,
Here.
Ken Bennett,
Here.
Paul Rennemeyer,
Here.
Brendan Boudreau,
Here.
Ivan Adams.
Here.
Mr. Baker, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is review of agenda by the board and addition of items of new business to the agenda for consideration by the board. Or a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I would move that we approve the agenda as printed.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor from Mr. Adams and a second from Mr. Morgan to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, vote, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Our agenda has been approved. Item number 4 is a proclamation for National Community Planning Month. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, counties, and other places, and whereas community planning and plans can help manage change in a way that provides better choices for how citizens work and live, and whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community, and whereas the full benefits of planning require public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation, and whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories, and whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month provides an opportunity to recognize the participation and dedication of members of planning commissions and other citizens who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of their communities. Now therefore, the town of Windsor, Colorado does hereby proclaim October 2016 as National Community Planning Month in recognition of Windsor's dedication and commitment to community planning. Dated October 24th, 2016. Item number 5, Board Liaison Reports. Mayor Pro Tem Baker, Parks, Recreation, and Culture Advisory Board.
Thank you. No update, as there has not been a meeting since my last report.
Okay. Town Board Member Morgan, Water and Sewer Board, and Clearview Library Board.
The library will be meeting this Thursday, the 27th at 5:30 p.m. at the library. I was unable to attend the Water and Sewer Board. Mr. Rennemeyer attended in my stead and will give a report.
Okay. Town Board Member Bennett, Planning Commission and Windsor Housing Authority.
The Planning Commission met last Wednesday evening and addressed 2 items that are on tonight's board action agenda, items 4 and 5. The Housing Authority met last Tuesday afternoon and working on their 2017 budget, which is in good shape. They are still searching for some additional land to purchase to build additional housing for seniors. They are also looking at capital improvements of the existing Century 3 properties. Could be cabinets, could be adding dryers to the units, which they don't have, some floor leveling issues, and they're considering expanding their clubhouse. Just kind of interesting, they had received some information regarding cabinets. They were built in 1968 and 72, and they have been told that those actually might have better quality wood than buying new. So they might actually look at refurbishing. The other thing that's kind of just interesting, some of their residents are from a generation that did not use dryers and said they would be happy to not have dryers because they like drying their clothes outside, even in the wintertime. So it's just kind of interesting, the generational differences there in quality of workmanship and patterns. That's all.
Town Board Member Rennemeyer, Historic Preservation Commission and Great Western Trail Authority.
Let me first start with the Water and Sewer Board. There's really not much of an update. The Water and Sewer Board just went over the budget for 2017. Pretty much took the whole hour of the Water and Sewer Board meeting a couple weeks ago. The Historic Preservation Commission has not met for a couple months, but we do have an ongoing research by a class at CSU regarding the churches in downtown. And we look forward to getting an update here, I believe, in the next month on their progress. And the Great Western Trail Authority, there's been no update since our last meeting.
Okay. Board Member Boudreau, Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, Chamber met morning of, excuse me, I can't talk tonight, October 12th. Did an event wrap-up of the Meet the Leaders event. Just kind of talked about the turnout to the event, how there are quite a few leaders there, and also a decent number of members of the business community looking at ways to improve upon it for next year. Also talked about final details for the annual chamber dinner, of which I'm sure at our next meeting we will be debriefing on. And then also discussed the 2 vacant seats that are coming up on the board of directors for the chamber.
Okay. Board Member Adams, Tree Board, Poudre River Trail Corridor Board.
The tree board will be meeting tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And the Poudre River Trail Corridor Board is going to, or they are planning to meet a week from Thursday. But right now, I think there's some discussion about postponing that one because they have rescheduled the retreat because they felt it was so important that they have rescheduled it for October 30th. So that will be held now. I think last month I said it had been called off, but they're going to reschedule it. So that's all I have for right now.
Is it October 30th or November 30th?
What'd I say? Thank you, Kelly. November 30th.
Okay.
Wrote it down here and then I
Yeah,
didn't even look
that's
at
fine.
it. So thank you.
Okay. And I have Downtown Development Authority, North Front Range, MPO. Nothing new to report from North Front Range MPO. Our next meeting is scheduled for November 3rd. Downtown Development Authority met on October 12th. Some things that they have currently been working on, of course, is mill project coordination for the old mill. They had some stakeholder meetings with many of the folks along Main Street in conjunction with their back lot. They're hoping to have some conversation to correct some easement status back there so that they can look at starting to do some things with the back lots. They did approve the budget that we all looked at and had a conversation on them with a couple weeks ago. They approved their budget and they also approved stepping up and going to the next and move to have 5 mills. So that if you remember when they created the DDA, they started at 1 and at that time agreed to go up a mill every year up to 5. And so they will be at their capacity as of next year moving into the 5 mill. Some of their upcoming events that they're working on, they're have been publicizing the downtown Halloween trick or treat, which takes place on Saturday. And they're looking hopefully to create some kind of shop local for Small Business Saturday, and they will be involved in Windsor Wonderland again. So those are some things kind of going on with the Windsor Downtown Development Authority. Moving on then to item number 6, which is our public invited to be heard. This is for individuals who are wishing to participate and to be heard on a non-agenda item. If we have anybody, I didn't see anybody who had signed up. Is there anybody this evening who wished to speak on a non-agenda item in the public invited to be heard? I just wanted to, we don't have anybody to speak, but I also wanted to recognize we have 2 important Boy Scouts this evening that are visiting our chambers that are trying to earn their citizenship badges. So just wanted to say a special hello to them this evening. Moving on then to item B is our consent calendar. On our consent calendar this evening, we have the minutes of the October 10th, 2016 meeting. We have resolution number 2016-71, a resolution approving the ascensioning of items to the Town of Windsor Museum collection. And we have item number 3, resolution 2016-72, a resolution appointing directors to the boards of directors of the Rain Dance Metropolitan Districts, numbers 1 through 4.
I move we approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Baker and a second from Mr. Bennett to approve the consent calendar as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Our consent calendar has been approved unanimously. Moving on to item C and board action. Our first item on this evening's agenda is ordinance number 2016-1526, repealing and amending portions of Chapter 17, Article 13 of the Municipal Code regarding enhanced design standards for development within the I-25 State Highway 392 Interchange Corridor Activity Center area. This will require a supermajority vote. It is second reading and legislative action. Mr. Balstead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Town Board. These enhanced design standards would supplement the existing design standards that are already in the municipal code. They would apply to all new development within the I-25 State Highway 392 Interchange Corridor Activity Center, and they've been the subject of numerous public hearings and public meetings throughout 2015 and earlier this year, as well as the public hearing that was held at the last town board meeting with first reading. Fort Collins City Council has adopted similar design standards and passed Fort Collins Resolution 2016-70, recommending to the Windsor Town Board approval of the proposed design standards. The standards will enhance requirements for site design, landscaping, parking, building design and orientation, compatibility, and lighting. And staff is recommending approval of the ordinance on second reading.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the board? So all of the previous documents from all of the public invited to be heard that we heard on this, they're all considered part of the record. Is that correct?
I believe so, and I believe since the first email.
Anybody in? None? A motion on the floor, Mr. Rennemeyer.
Thank you.
Thank you. For 26 of measures referred to the voters by the Weld R4 School District Board for consideration November 8th, 2016. This is legislative action. Is there any questions or comments from any board members? And I know we have some of the supporters of this measure in the audience this evening if we have any questions. Mr. Morgan? No?
No questions.
No questions?
Madam Mayor, do we need a motion to approve?
We do need a motion if there is no discussion.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Boudreau.
I would like to go ahead and take a moment to explain my vote on that, if this is
Sure.
okay. Being that I am a renter in the town of Windsor, I am not a property owner. Therefore, I would not be directly paying the tax if 3B and 3C were to pass. Therefore, I do not feel it is right of me to ask folks to vote for a tax increase that I will not be directly paying for. So I will be voting no on this resolution.
Madam Mayor, I would move that we approve resolution number 2016-73.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor for Mr. Adams and a second for Mr. Bennett to approve resolution number 2016-73. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, and the resolution passes with 6 ayes, the ayes being Baker, Morgan, Bennett, Melendez, Rennemeyer, Adams, and the nay being Boudreau.
Madam Mayor, since the board members and the superintendent are here, would they like to, or could we let them speak to this?
What are the wishes of the board?
I don't know if they want to, but I just, they're here and
Just put them on the spot.
We didn't have any questions for them. I let them know that we would bring them forward. Did you want to, did somebody want to step forward? You may need to step forward. You need to
wanna
give
make you
your
walk
name and
up here,
address.
Tippy. Come to the podium, sir.
Better
Mr.
start at
Boudreau,
3
I just want to
minutes.
say I respectfully understand that position, and thank you. You and I have had some discussions about it, and I'm pretty much anti-tax myself, and I just think it's the right thing to do for our community, and it's the right thing to do for kids. And just thank you for your support. That's what makes Windsor great. You know, we share our gymnasiums, we share our pool, we share, we learn together, and we grow together. So look forward to continue to make the town of Windsor and the town of Severance bigger and better and greater. And thank you for your service. We really appreciate what you guys do. Being a volunteer myself, I know you guys spend a lot of time away from families, and just thanks for your support for this. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3, resolution number 2016-74. A resolution appointing the presiding judge and associate judge for the Town of Windsor Municipal Court and confirming the term of office for each. This is legislative action. Ms. Emel.
Thank you, Town Board. Since Judge Manning announced his intent to retire at the end of the year, it was deemed necessary then to select a new judge to take over after he's finished, and depending on who the selection was, whether or not we would need to appoint an associate judge as well. The interviews took place, and it was selected in the town board, you selected Teresa Ablau, who is currently our associate judge, to serve as the municipal judge, and then you also selected Michelle Klein to serve as the associate judge in the event that Ms. Ablau cannot be present. The swearing in is supposed to be on December 12th. Charter section 9.2.b requires a 2/3 majority vote for the appointment of judicial officers.
Okay. Is there any additional discussion or questions?
I was gonna ask, since this is a new thing for the board, to select a judge, do they have to accept the decision of the board? I mean, has Michelle Klein accepted to be the associate, prior to us?
I wasn't party to the conversations, but I do know that Ian contacted both of them and spoke with them. I believe that they are willing to accept.
Okay.
Is there anything else? Yep. I'll just make a comment, and then I would seek a motion then. I'm going to vote no, and I'm not going to go into more detail. I think I gave my opposition, my opposing views during the interviews, and I, for the record, stand by those, and so I still will be voting no on both of those appointments for this evening. So is there a motion on the floor?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 2016-74.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor from Mr. Bennett and a second from Mr. Boudreau, passing resolution number 2016-74. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Those, so it passes 6-1. Those in favor are Baker, Morgan, Bennett, Rennemeyer, Boudreau, and Adams, and those on opposition, Melendez. Item number 4 is a site plan presentation for River Valley Crossing Subdivision, Lot 5, Christian Brothers Automotive, Stephanie Greenlee owner, Todd Rand, Baseline Engineering Corporation, and Jonathan Wakefield, Christian Brothers Automotive Corporation, the applicant's representative. Mr. Alhalba?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Town Board. As stated, this is a site plan presentation for the River Valley Crossing subdivision, Lot 5. This is for a Christian Brothers Automotive site. This project is being reviewed in accordance with Article 9 of Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code, which outlines the purpose and procedures of the qualified and commercial and industrial site plan application process. As stated, the applicant, represented by Mr. Todd Rand and Mr. Jonathan Wakefield, is proposing a new site development for the Christian Brothers Automotive located at 1635 Main Street. The site is adjacent to and directly south of Main Street, as shown. The site vicinity map here is the yellow box and also the yellow star on your screen. The site is also zoned general commercial, surrounded by other general commercial uses, which are mostly vacant lots right around to the direct east, west, and south of this property. The property is also within our commercial corridor plan area, and the application as it's been submitted to the town does meet all commercial corridor plan requirements. The site characteristics include a new approximately 4,900 square foot automotive repair store. There are 29 dedicated off-street parking spaces, which include 2 accessible parking spaces. For reference, on the site plan on your screen, north is to the right of your screen. There's a little north arrow in the bottom left-hand corner. So the garage bays are facing east, and these are your garage bays right here along the eastern side of the facade. In addition, the site has over 30% landscaping. A lot of that landscaping is focused around the perimeter of the site to help screen the parking lot, as well as those garage bays that'll be on the east side. So on the landscape plan here, everything kind of flipped, and so north is on the left of your screen here. That's something hopefully we'll get fixed through the site plan process, so everything reads the same way. In addition, you can see a sidewalk here leading from the site out to the sidewalk system along Main Street. So there's also a pedestrian connectivity aspect. So if someone get another vehicle fix, or you can walk to any of the commercial businesses along Main Street. Building characteristics and structural details. Most of the building is brick, and there's also some limestone veneer as wainscoting, which you can see down the bottom of the building, kind of wrapping around most of the predominant sides. There's also decorative tile, architectural precast keystones integrated into the brick facade. And as stated, there are 9 overhead garage doors that face east towards the parking lot. The application is consistent with the growth framework, commercial and industrial areas framework plan of the comprehensive plan. This application is also consistent with the economic vitality chapter in the Vision 2025 document. I'd like to note that Mr. Wakefield is present to answer any questions. I believe he also wanted to come up and make a brief discussion on the site plan. The pamphlet that went around to you was just a document that kind of got into the details of what Christian Brothers Automotive was, showed some interior pictures of some of their buildings and what those look like. So with that, I would answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions, Mr. Baker?
On your elevations, the right side elevation, is that, I assume that's north facing?
So this is the north facing elevation. This is what you will see. This is the office space, so the bottom left-hand corner. So you'll see the wainscot, the windows, and then the western elevation, which you will see as you take 392 into town, will be this facade, but I would also point out all this landscaping, trees, evergreen materials here helps break up just all the brick facade.
So
In
those will
addition,
be-
there's a lot on that side of the
Those will be up
building.
against the building? There's no parking on that?
No, not on that west side.
Okay,
So-
that was my comment, was that wall is, there's not even a fake window or something we should,
along
just-
this section
yeah.
here.
just pretty,
And I
Lot
can
of
invite
brick
the
there.
applicant up to discuss, maybe it has something to do with their design plans and how they store equipment inside. I'm not quite
Okay.
sure, but
Josh, what's
Yes.
the roof material?
what's the what?
What's the roof gonna be? What kind of material?
It's asphalt shingles, and it's kind of this green colored asphalt shingles. It's kind of hard to see in the picture, but it is asphalt shingles, so like what you see on your home.
Any other questions?
The,
Mr. Rennemeyer?
looking at the front elevation there, where it's what, like 1/3, a quarter of the way up, where it's that faux masonry or the faux stone, or I don't know if I'm calling it the right thing. How come none of that is required on the backside? Maybe that would break up some of the brick on the other.
Yeah, it's based on our corridor plan, it's not something that's required along that section, but if it's something the town board wants to have staff work with the applicant on through the review, we can definitely look into those elements, because
I was just
they're
curious.
using brick there, so I don't know if there's a difference, and that's something Mr. Wakefield could probably get into more detail about, the difference between the stone versus the brick in that section.
I
so.
just see it come around there on that middle picture,
Mhm.
where it comes around and then it just stops there. It just seems like it would look great all the way around.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, Josh, and maybe I'm just confused about it, but will you go back to your location slide? Yeah. Where is this specific? I looked this afternoon and,
Yep, so this is Safeway, this is Chase Bank, and here is the High Hops Brewery.
okay,
And then
but,
King
I mean,
Soopers.
we're on the south side though.
Yep,
so-
south side Main
And it's
Street.
west of Chase in that open field there.
Yep, there's been platted lots there for a while with some private drives, as well as a couple of the public drive extensions, for a few number of years.
Well, thanks for taking the time. I just wanted to make sure, I mean, not that it matters, but I just wanted to know if that's where it is specifically.
And with the board's permission, I'd like to invite up Mr. Wakefield.
Sure.
That's about that plan right there, Josh.
Yeah.
So the gray, is the gray, no, who maintains the landscaping in the gray, and what is responsible to the landowner versus the,
So this would be the responsibility of Christian Brothers. I believe this is all turf,
Okay.
out in this area. The gray is showing that there's an easement through that area, that's why it's shaded. And then over here, this is a private drive, and that's been, that was one of our review comments, was to see if there were agreements in place about the
Right.
ownership and maintenance of that, and if not, then we would get into that in the development agreement.
so the parcel adjacent, or the strip, the landscape strip that's currently existing adjacent Main Street, you're gonna research who will maintain that, or?
Along Main Street itself, I believe it would be the property owner that would maintain that landscaping, like mowing grass in that area. And then street trees, if there's street trees that need to be trimmed, I believe our town forester
There are
team.
currently now, and they're being maintained by the owners,
Okay.
with the development, so, yeah, but you think it can be transferred?
It should be transferred over to this property owner,
Okay, thank you.
unless there's an agreement in
Mhm.
place about
Right.
maintenance responsibilities, so.
What's the timeline on this? Do you know?
In terms of our review schedule, or when?
Or, well, in terms of when they would want to plan to break ground?
Sure, absolutely, happy to address that. I'm a little shorter than Josh, so I got a small adjustment here.
We all are.
And I'll try and move quickly. I realize that your team is probably currently beating my team right now, and you'll want to get to that. My name's Jonathan Wakefield. I'm the Development Director for Christian Brothers Automotive. We are a light automotive repair facility, so in scope of work, we're not unlike Goodyear Firestone, with much, much less tires and much more warranty work. I think that would be the flip. To address some of the comments that have been made, if you look at the site plan, the building setback on that lower side is 20 feet?
On the south.
Yes, yeah, my north, southeast, both, yeah. What we're anticipating is when Mr. Greenlee develops or sells the next property over, more than likely they are going to butt their building up against ours with the same setback. So it's where do you want to spend your money? We decided to spend our money on the architectural elevation that is going to be exposed. The back side of the building is more than likely going to be back to back with another building that also would not want to put their quote-unquote gingerbread on the back side of the building where no one is going to see it except for the landscaping crews. So we felt that if we're going to meet and exceed a standard, let's do it with landscaping, which I believe you said we have over 30% green space. We require no variances at all whatsoever and are fully compliant. Also creates an opportunity for me to say very nice things about Josh. He's been an excellent shepherd. He didn't know I was going to do that, so you can turn red. That's great. We love it. But everyone has been an incredible help. I would also like to introduce the Dismake family as the franchisees. We are not McDonald's. They don't purchase a franchise and then operate it from California. They live and work there. They are part of your community. The promises and the statements that we make aren't coming from the hallowed halls in Houston. They're coming from their living room. They are your promise keepers. And I can tell you, Lance and company are very excited about all this happening. I cannot overstate that. But if you have any particular questions, things that typically come up because we're automotive, folks want to know about lighting, they want to know about traffic, they want to know about noise, vibration, harshness. What are you going to do to mitigate the concerns, even if there's something real or just perceived? And my day started very early in Houston, so I am very willing to answer whatever questions you might have if there's something I haven't touched on.
I have another question. Will there be overnight vehicle storage for?
It's not storage necessarily. That's one of the reasons why we have 9 bays. The first 9 bays, and again, promise keeping going on here. The 9 bays allow us to store the preponderance of the vehicles there. So if they started with us, we worked on them, they come into the bays. If somebody we have a night drop. So if somebody drops off a car, well, obviously they can't pull that into the bays. So it's not unusual for there to be some vehicles outside. Since all we do is internal vehicle repair, we do no body work, no paint work of any sort. If you want to know what the cars look like that are outside our facility, look no further than your parking lot. We're working on your cars. So there's not going to be any 1972 LTDs with trees growing up through the trunk, which unfortunately our industry has that kind of connotation. We're also extraordinarily environmentally clean. We've never had an incident, not one, in operation since 1982. So hopefully that answers the question, but if there's...
That did, 'cause
Yes, sir.
my concern would be you'd have, 5 or 6 cars out there that are broken down and not.
Absolutely. And broken down is kind of relative. 90% of our vehicles show up on their own power. There may be a few that show up on a wrecker where somebody waited a little bit too long to do that maintenance item that's now a big problem. But we can take care of that as well. But the wrecker, we don't have a towing vehicle. We'll sub that out to a local service.
Okay. Any additional questions? Okay.
All right.
Say none.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alhala.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 5 is another site plan presentation. This one being the one for Cornerstone Subdivision, first filing, Lot 1, Block 1, Tolmar, Windsor Campus. Charles Mays, Tolmar Incorporated is the applicant. John Sweet, TST Inc., applicant's representative. And this evening, we have Mr. Balstead presenting.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Town Board. Yes, this is another site plan presentation. This is for the redevelopment site, the former D-Line Box property at the northwest corner of it's a site plan presentation in accordance with 17.9.10 of the municipal code. The site is at the northwest corner of Highway 257 and Eastman Park Drive. And the Cornerstone Subdivision first filing project is approximately 13.35 acres and is zoned limited industrial. The surrounding zoning is primarily commercial to the south and east, some more industrial to the east, as well as residential to the north and to the west and to the southwest. The existing site, as I mentioned, was the D-Line Box Company, built in the 80s, and over the past several years, Tolmar has been renovating the interior of the space and pulling commercial tenant finish permits for the interior of the site. The subject site plan presentation tonight is for the exterior the exterior improvements that they're now working on, which include drainage improvements, right-of-way improvements, including adjacent sidewalks and accessible ramps, landscaping, and screening of some of the mechanical equipment outside of the building. Which again, you can just see the site plan and some of the landscaping that's proposed. This is the site plan is in conformance with the comprehensive plan and the Vision 2025 document, and there is no recommendation, as this is for presentation purposes only. However, Mr. Mays is present and has a brief presentation that he'd like to present to show the town board what all the improvements that Tolmar is making to the site include. So.
Good evening. My name's Charles Mays. I'm representing 1201 Cornerstone Drive. I'm an employee at Tolmar. I'm the Director of Engineering and Facilities. And I just want to tell you a little bit about the company and what we do, what we plan to do now and in the future here in Windsor, as well as a little background about the company. I'm not going to go into all the details about the site plan, because you can see in the other presentation it has the details there. Tolmar develops, manufactures, and distributes branded and generic, let me get to this slide, branded and generic prescription pharmaceuticals in the area of urology, oncology, and dermatology. Never can say derms products. I'll paraphrase. Just one highlight, Eligard is a product that we make that's for prostate cancer. It's a really cool, innovative type of product. What it does is it slow releases the drug. So you, instead of go to the doctor, you probably know people that have cancer go weekly or monthly for treatments. This product, you're allowed to go in, you'll get an injection. That injection can last a month, 3 months, or even 6 months. It's a slow release. It's like it's a little microsphere that slowly breaks down in your body. So it's really cool, innovative types of drugs that we produce here. That's just one product I wanted to highlight. Other areas that we develop and manufacture are topical ointments, creams, gels, lotions, and there's a lot more in the pipeline, and I'll touch on that later. I just wanted to highlight how we're growing. So Tolmar's employees are rapidly increasing. One thing that I wanted to point out is, we actually started in about 1990. If you're familiar with, some of the companies that started out around that, about 1990 in Fort Collins, Atrix, that did different types of oral treatments for gum disease. We started there and evolved through a couple of different names. Ultimately, we came up with Tolmar and started branding drugs or manufacturing under other pharmaceutical names, drugs, legal drugs, by the way. Anyway, so our growth has been 350% over the last roughly 10 years. We continue to hire. We are based out of Fort Collins. We have a sales office in Chicago, and now we have 2 facilities or buildings here in Windsor. We're excited about that. Let me go into facilities capabilities here. Here's just a little slide that shows our cream and ointments and gels. We make them out of aluminum tubes, plastic tubes, and pumps. We do topical and oral solutions that are filled in bottles and plastic bottles, glass bottles and plastics. Injectables, we use glass vials, glass syringes, and plastic syringes. So kind of a broad scope of different items to treat different ailments. Here's just a highlight of where we are in manufacturing or production sites, warehouse sites, administrative sites. We currently have 10 buildings. The reason I say 10 is 2301, 2401, and 2409 are on Research Drive in Fort Collins. That's 3 different buildings. We kind of summed them because they're all office buildings. The last 2 that we've purchased, one at 1201 Cornerstone Drive and at 9351 Eastman Park Drive. So if you notice, they're about, I think, about a third of a mile away from each other, trying to build that campus, because one is mainly manufacturing and storage, the other is mainly storage and office. And so definitely expanding this direction. So here's the facility we were just talking about, the site plan. It is an older site. We've been doing most of the renovations internal. The only things on the external that you can see is some utilities and a little bit of painting in the front. What we're looking at is focusing on drainage, parking, bringing things up to compliance because we didn't have enough handicap parking places, things like that. Also some more landscaping. Drainage has been a problem at this site. I've only been working for the company for about a year and a half, but what I've seen in the last year and a half is waters come down, flowing south and go right into our drives, and we end up with people parking in 6 inches of water. And so we're doing some retention and some extra drainage for us, but it also helps the city too because we're expanding some drainage lines going underneath the road. One thing I wanted to highlight, it's always good for any community, is that we are estimating approximately 400 jobs coming to the area. Some are transferred from Fort Collins, some are new, because you look at our growth rate, that was before we were even planning on coming out here. It's continued to climb. And so we have a lot of skilled laborers coming out. And I would say your businesses out there probably already seen some of that. I know I walk the subway all the time. And so it's growing. We roughly have, I would say at any given day, maybe 80 people to 100 people there because we're doing a lot of development work and transferring the products right now. So let me switch pages here. I'll go over to the next. Just wanted to touch on a couple of internal shots of things that we've been doing. To manufacture pharmaceutical products, you have to have the highest purity water and things like that, clean steam. So we go through distillation processes for water to get to a whole nother level called WFI, or water for injection. That's the starting or the building blocks to make pharmaceutical products, and or at least what we make or manufacture. And so we have a lot of infrastructure around utilities. Obviously, backup generation of power, things like that too. And you can just see, we're already storing products over there. We have different coal boxes in the warehouse. You can see that, it's like a big refrigerator. Here's some just finishes on the interior. So it's not a box plant anymore. It's epoxy floors, epoxy walls, drop ceilings that are vinyl or even hard cap ceilings for cleanability because we have to maintain a very clean environment. We monitor that environment continuously. You can see just some tanks in the bottom under the pilot plant slide there, or picture there. A lot of the utilities drop into the room and exit the room. Just very, very clean and top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art finishes in this manufacturing site. Again, just more pictures of the spaces. We have different hoods for sampling and weighing out things. Down in the bottom left-hand corner under bulk room, you can see a tank there. A lot of times I equate it to just baking a cake. You have to have we start with bigger containers, but you start with that, then you have to add your incipients and your active ingredients. We mix them up, whether it's through heat or sometimes even chilling the product and mix them up, and then different process steps, ultimately to fill smaller vials and containers and then package them out and then distribute them across multiple countries. So, here's the other site that I wanted to point out. It's a site that we purchased recently further south. Further east on 9351 Eastman Parkway Drive. It's 40,000 square feet of office space and 40,000 square foot of warehouse. I estimate 150 people will be housed there in the near future. The reason I do that because we are planning on 146 in the office, and I'm just guessing exactly how many people will be in the warehouse. Probably 5 to 10, but it could be upwards of 20. This area, this building specifically was being rented out to different companies, and as their leases end, we're taking over those spaces. So we still have a few tenants in the building. Really excited about this. Our plan next year is to continue to move people out from the other site, and as expansion occurs, we will place the associates in this building. Just a few strengths of Tolmar. We've proven our development capabilities through clinical, regulatory, and manufacturing infrastructure. Again, we're building a state-of-the-art facility here. We have another one in northern Fort Collins, and we have an older facility right in the middle of Fort Collins that we're planning on renovating in a few years. Rich development pipeline. I alluded to this earlier, but over the next 10 years, we have numerous products coming down the pipeline that are already in the development stages. And so we're doing some of the development here in Windsor, but also in some of our other labs in Fort Collins. Very exciting. And we do establish ourselves in niche pharma markets. So like I mentioned earlier, Eligard, you know, how that slow release drugs really hit the market and taken off well for years. So, quick summary, we're over 612 employees. That's not counting the contractors and consultants that we have out here too. Just a snapshot today, I know of at least 20 to 25 consultants and contractors that are here at our site working on top of that number. We currently export to 68 countries. We're targeting 76 by the end of the year, which makes our job more challenging because you don't have to deal with just the FDA governing us. You have to deal with every health organization in all these countries, which makes it harder because it takes years to roll out products or even transfer products from Fort Collins to Windsor, and that's what we're doing. Some of our dermatological products have already been accepted, and we can manufacture them here. Others are still on the list of waiting because you have to build new batches and show the capabilities of the company here in Windsor. So I think that's about it. Just open the floor up for questions.
Any questions? Mr. Morgan?
Yes, sir.
So without disclosing what they are, can you talk about Tolmar's philosophy towards facility security and kind of what you're, I guess, how important it is at your Windsor production facility, not so much your office space, but how does Tolmar approach that?
General security of the site?
Yeah.
Well, in the pharmaceutical industry, we're very SOP or standard operating procedures driven. And so whether it be security or even pest control, you know, we have to have, you know, strict policies on how to maintain things. So no open doors to the outside. About a month ago, we had one door that was unlocked, and an operator was unlocking it so they could take the trash out, and that's totally against our policy. We can't even do that. You can't prop a door open. Now, during normal working hours, where we do have a strong presence, you may have, like right now, not during the evening, but in the day, you may have construction workers working in, but everyone has to have a badge. I didn't realize it. I almost go nowhere without it, but we have to certify even contractors working at our site, make sure they've gone through safety training and gone through access training, because there's certain areas that we don't want them to go in, not necessarily for their own safety, but to protect the pharmaceutical products, because we don't want them to walk into a space that's clean and then be dirty, i.e. not gowned appropriately. And so we take that very serious. And currently in the evenings, we have a night shift, I'd say 24 hours presence, but they start at 5 p.m. and spend the night at our site to make sure that the site remains safe. And we also have people on call. And then during the day, we have a strong presence.
So in terms of training or meeting with the local police and fire department, is that something that you've done or plan to do?
Yeah. I mentioned this in another presentation. We have 3 safety individuals, so 1 manager and 2 safety engineers, and they constantly are meeting with the Windsor fire chief. I can't think of her name, Sandy. And so they've met with Sandy. I've met with them when they're touring our site because they have a strong presence. They'll come out to our site when we're doing any type of work. You know, we do sprinkler changes because we're adding a new suite. They're on site checking it out. So I feel like that relationship's very strong.
Okay, thanks.
Any additional questions?
As
Mr.
I look
Holmes?
at the site plan, is your northern boundary going right up to the houses or the homes that are north of you?
Yeah, there's an open field that extends up to the back fence next to that neighborhood.
And who will be responsible for that open field there?
We've taken care of it, yes. Yeah,
I-
we've continued to. We have a contracted landscape crew that comes out, cuts the grass, and maintains it. I can't elaborate on how often they cut it, because it's wild grass right now, just kind of an open, undeveloped field. This site plan does not address that field specifically. It focuses more on the other side for drainage purposes. But there is some grading on that backside. And access road, because we mentioned the fire department, there's actually a road that they asked for to go around and loop in the back in case they ever need to get back there and turn their trucks around.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So is it primarily, what you're doing to the outside? Is it landscaping? Or is there something that you're actually doing to the building itself?
At this time, it's mainly grading, striping, resurfacing the parking lot, landscaping, retention areas for water flow, and some road. And also, there's going to be a fence on that east side of the building to shield some of, the building. I mean, obviously, you want to give the best line sight, so I think that's right beside the the railroad tracks. There's going to be a small fence that runs along that side. But external improvements at this moment, no. I don't want to misspeak, but I don't recall of any other than some sprinklers and things.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So the land to the north that I was talking about, do you anticipate that's going to be for future development at some point in time?
I'm not going to rule it out. I can't represent the company, and say no or yes, but there has been discussions. I can't say that we decided anything for 17. We're very cognizant that that is closer to residential areas. And so obviously the city would be involved, and any plans would be discussed. Something that we've been talking about is getting some city reps out to just tour the site and see the site in the near future, so we can have more of an open forum.
The last question,
Yes.
access for your employees traffic-wise, is the roundabout working and such? Is that all working, functioning well?
Yeah, that's functioning well. For the employees, they come. A lot of employees already live in Windsor, but so they come in different, from different directions. And so yes, it's worked so far for the employees.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
for your presentation. Item number 6. Economic Development Report and staff presentation from Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Town Board members. I'm going to give a really quick update tonight. I was planning on giving a different report, kind of an overview of where we stand on our incentives, and that will come probably in December. We'll give an update. One side note to that, one of our largest incentives to date with Eagle Crossing of $642,000 is almost completely paid back in 2 years. So I'll get those final numbers for you. Our original estimate was closer to 3 years, and they've already paid back. So this was just a quick snapshot. Some of the things you'll notice that are different in there. We've added another category in the industry under accommodations. Those seem to be getting a lot of activity. We just got another hotel accommodations request for October, but this is just through September. So you'll see that bump up too. Upstate Colorado's our #1 lead source, which shifted, I believe, from last time, which was Xceligent, or they're closely related. Request for existing space has increased. Largely, it was usually about 50%. It's now a little bit higher than that, up to 61%. We do have seen an uptick in larger space requested, which we don't qualify for. So the existing space has been requested. By larger, I mean 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 square feet space. So I think that they'll have difficulty finding those in the markets. We may see a shift that comes back from that prospect to request a build to suit or something specific of land to be able to build and hold that capacity. So July and August, if you'll notice on the last page, we try to track all of our number of prospects, and then we track how many prospect visits we have had to the area. You will notice that is the largest in the history since I've been tracking it. July and August were phenomenal months for us to have that many companies coming in and meeting with us about activity in Windsor and wanting to put something in Windsor. So we'll hope that those eventually come out to something more permanent. So in October, however, the prospects have slowed down a little bit. I'm assuming that's probably going to be due to the election, because I've been told following up with a few folks here and there that they're not making any decisions till after then. So it's a quick snapshot kind of a thing. Thank you again for your time with the retail earlier this evening. And does anybody have any questions about prospect activity and what's going on?
Any questions, Mr.
Question.
Baker?
I can't read the graph here on the active attraction prospects by industry. I can't tell the two greens apart.
Oh, sorry,
Which
yeah,
one's
there's
retail and which one's agricultural?
24%. If you look to the right of that, there's a slight definition that says the second paragraph that retail's at 24%, manufacturing's at 18%. So we do have 11 different industries that we're seeing prospects in, which is good. I like the diversification in that. We're still adding another one. We had 10 last month, so now we have accommodations, and I don't know if it's technically a primary employer, but it's still one of the things that we look at, and it takes my time to actually deal with and work with those prospects.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any additional questions?
I want to add too that Tolmar was one of the first attraction prospects that I worked and actually toured them with that building at DeLine Box Manufacturing. So they were the first prospect that I landed here for the town back in 2011.
Very good, and here they are back on your anniversary.
Yay! Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And our last item on this evening's agenda, number 7, financial report for September 2016. Mr. Moyer.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. In your packet this evening is the financial report for September. You can see the pictures of our grand opening on the cover there. I think you'll recognize a few of those people. That was big news for us here last month. I mean in October. Also, from a financial sense, as has been the pattern for most of the year, building permits is a big story. Through September, we have 545 single-family home permits. To put that in perspective, the previous annual record, which we hit twice, was 451. So through September, we've already eclipsed our former annual record. Through September of 2015, we had 239. So you can see we've already doubled that for the course of September. Also, another good month in retail sales tax. We are ahead of September year to date, as well as comparing month to month of September 16 and 15. We have, of course, a function of the building permits is our construction use tax is quite a bit higher than we had budgeted. As you can see going into the chart on the top of page 2, being September is 3/4 of the year, our benchmark for our revenue collections would be 75%. You can see in that chart on the top of the page, we have cleared that in every category, and especially, as I mentioned, construction use tax driven by the number of building permits, which again is detailed in that chart in the middle of the page. The chart on the bottom of the page shows our construction use tax revenue, the red line being our monthly requirement, and you can see the blue line is our actual collections, which is above our required red line each month of the year. Moving on to page 3, I mentioned that September 2016 is about 10.5% higher than September of 2015. Show that, again, same type of graph there. The horizontal red line is our monthly benchmark of about $647,000. We collected $690 in September. Our newly approved CRC expansion portion, the 0.75, is detailed in that chart in the middle of the page. Our monthly requirement on that is about $142,500. You can see we collected $161, nearly $162 in September. One extraordinary item in September was we did have to do a refund in that September highlights there, $85,852. What that was in 2015, we had a company report a sale. It was a large, of course, you can see a ticket that big was a large sale of a product. It was related, it was an oil and gas related sale. The company reported it as if it had taken place in Windsor city limits. Come to find out later, it actually did not. So we sent them that money back because it did not happen here in Windsor. Just looking forward, 3.2 collections, if we stay on this pace, I figure we will come in about $8.8 million as compared to the roughly 7.7 that we used to do the 2016 budget. As I mentioned, we are year-to-date through September. I'm on page 4 now. As we tucking September year-to-date, we are ahead of September of 2015 by about 5.5%, or $346,000. Year-to-date, the sales tax by geo code and industry is detailed on the bottom of page 4. I won't necessarily read that for you. Moving on to the expenditures on page 5. Again, looking at the 75% benchmark through September, you can see the operations, we are at 72. Oddly enough, for capital, we are at 72 as well. So combining those, we are at 72% of the budget. So we're doing well in that aspect. One note we will need to do at the end of the year or early next year, we will have to address a couple items in the supplemental budget. Timing going over last year to this year. The projects themselves are under budget. We just didn't have, when we set up the 2016 budget, we didn't have the cutoff correct. So we spent more this year than we had figured and less in 2015. So we'll have to adjust that at the end of this year. Going on to page 6, details our general fund budget. You can see we are at 76% of our operating budget. A couple of those items have used up all, if not most, if not all of their budget, which would stand to reason. Pool and aquatics, parks operations, a lot of our recreation programs that were outside during the summer are now concluded and are basically done for the year. So that being said, I would answer any questions, but that is my report for September.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Moyer?
And is
But did you want to speak to that at all, Eric? You have more specific numbers than I do.
Probably just to expand on it, there will be I was looking at this, we don't have that itemized in your report, so next year you'll probably expand to the record. Is it an expenditure piece? So you'll probably need to kind of add that to your.
Yeah, there is on the capital, on the chart.
But not in operations.
It's lumped in with some other ones.
Yeah, so we might want to break that out.
Break that out for next year.
Yeah, go ahead.
So as of about 4:45 this afternoon, we were about 10 memberships short of 1,700. Goal will be to get to 3,000 pretty quickly in the new year, and then 4 by the end of next year. And I think at that point, we'll be in the range that we need to be in financially.
Okay.
Just on memberships. That's not counting other passes to get in or day drop-ins or programming pieces. Just strictly 3-month or annual memberships. So, as I think Dean alluded to, early on, I think we're doing well. Continue to see really heavy traffic. We average about 1,000 people a day through the building. So it's going good, but we need to see how it goes over time. We've only done one monthly billing, and the other one, know, it'll be a big jump in the next month, because we've gone from, I think we've added well over 1,000 before we, you know, since the opening, so.
Before the end of the year, we owe you a final budget report on the project, and so we're kind of putting that all together and anticipate that we'll have that done before the end of the year and talk about where we stood, where we stand, what next, all those kind of things, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on then to item D, communications. Communications from town attorney, Ms. Emel.
No communications.
Okay. Communications from town staff. Ms. Johnson, anything further?
No.
Ms. Unger?
No communications.
Mr. Balstead?
Just one quick item. I think it was communicated to the board earlier, but in case you missed the Biz West or the Windsor Now article yesterday, Biz West announced their top 40 under 40 young professionals in Northern Colorado, and our own Mr. Olhava was on the list. So, and the and I'd just reiterate that the comments that you heard from the applicant tonight are comments that I hear all the time. So.
Mr. Olhava?
No speech?
Ms. Garcia?
No communications.
Mr. Lucas?
I wanted to invite you all to the pickleball court ribbon cutting next Tuesday, November 1st at 1 p.m. So. I should add that if you recall, when the pickleball group was raising money, they also said that they would raise an additional $500 in lessons. They've already done 120 in their first week of lessons, so I think they're definitely well on their way to meeting exactly what they said they would do.
So
I have a question.
we'll put that in your calendar.
Yes.
And make sure.
And I have a question for you
Yes.
that came up at coffee with the mayor. The nets, once they go up, you just leave them up
They
year
stay.
round?
That's
Okay.
correct. We will probably take them down when winter really sets in, so that there's not snow up against the tension of the nets. But outside of that, they'll stay up.
Okay, thank you. Chief?
I'd like to attest to Tomar's products. They are very successful. We had our National Drug Take Back Saturday, and we brought in or had 212 pounds of prescription drugs turned in, so they are doing their job quite well.
Thank you.
Does Tolmar help dispose of the prescriptions? Is that what you're?
No, the DA collects them.
I'm just, where do they come in on that? Where does Tolmar come in?
They're just saying this, just collectively, the drug industry, we have lots of prescription drugs in the community, so there's always, it's one of the more successful programs we have. In fact, we could probably collect drugs every Saturday, but we do it on the DEA schedule, so that works out really well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Van Meter?
Community Halloween will be held on Monday, the 31st, from 6 to 8 p.m. in the Rec Center. It's a joint program with the Windsor Police Department and the Optimist Club, as well as the Kiwanis Club and the Rotary and the Windsor Severance Fire Rescue. So there'll be games for all sorts of kiddos and candy, lots of candy, in Chief's office right now.
Communications from town manager.
Well, Dean is also here, so I'm gonna take a moment and ask you. We did not get into the second part of the work session, which was kind of your opportunity to bring up budget. Would you like to do a little bit of that now, if you had anything, or, and if there's more to be done, we can schedule more time. Again, it is scheduled for November 28th to be adopted, but, I don't wanna take away, your time that we kinda had tentatively set aside, so I'll make sure you have any questions or follow-up. There's material in the packet, and anything further.
Are there any questions or discussion concerning the budget?
Well, as time goes by, if there's anything, please let us know, and then if we need to schedule more time, we're available to do that, so.
And
do have
Okay,
a question.
Mr.
Was
Baker.
there any direction needed on the credit card fee issue? I don't remember.
No.
Okay.
What we wanted to make sure was kind of outline some of the specific issues, but I have not got into that too much yet. So I think there's some outline of where we're going discussion-wise, but when and if when we get done with that discussion, we'll come back to you and kind of say, here's what we're rolling out, and let you know when that's going to happen. I don't think we're ready to make final decisions yet tonight.
Okay.
Anything else?
We do not have anything else further to report other than next week is fifth Monday, Halloween. So you have plenty of opportunity to come over and participate in the event if you like. There is a special work session though, November 2nd, with the town of Severance and the Windsor Planning Commission. It will be here at 6 o'clock. You received your packet, I believe, last Thursday. Severance has it. They have distributed it out to their board and their planning commission also. And right now, the planning commission intent is to then, after that work session, move into their regular planning commission meeting. So it'll be upon adjournment of their works, it's a joint work session with us, and then they'll move into their meeting, so we'll have to kind of exit out of here. We'll do it in here. I don't think we're gonna probably do food because of the context of meeting, the crowd and such, so just prepare to come and participate November 2nd. That's all I have.
Okay. Communications from town board members.
I just want Mr. Lucas to know that I'm not gonna do any demonstrations on the pickleball opening.
I just wanted to remind the board members about the invite to the Windsor Historical Society final, their event on Friday evening from 4:30 to 7.
I wanted to ask Mr. Arnold if there was any update on the mill that we could share in a public setting.
There is not. Right now, if everything goes well, you have it tentatively scheduled. There will be an item tentatively scheduled for your agenda. It is November 14th, so 3 weeks out will be kind of the final discussion for public purposes and your consideration of potential incentive agreements and stuff like that, which will be finalized as we speak now. So, still working through all that.
Okay.
Okay. Seeing no further communication, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion on the floor from Mr. Boudreau and a second from Mr. Rennemeyer to adjourn this evening's board meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.